men's 5K. Going to get us started here at the Abbott Dash to the Finish Line and the U.S. 5K Road Championship.
Once again, in anticipation for our first break of the day in our youth championship race, I want to introduce again Ahmed Muhumed, the USA Track and Field Director of Outreach of West Programs. Robin, again, thank you for being here with us today. You are ready to go.
And with that horn, we are underway in New York City here in the first weekend of November. It's the Abbott Dash to the Finish Line 5K and the U.S. 5K Championship. You were looking at this this race course. You know, the racing is kind of interesting. You know, you get these two long stretches down two long streets, 42nd past Grand Central Station. They'll make a right-hand turn onto the Avenue of the Americas, and then the racing really starts in the park. But what strikes you about this race setup?
Yeah, I think it is that last mile through the park, right? There's a lot more turns through there. I think this course is more challenging than people think, even though it's a nice, long, mile-long stretch here. It's hilly. There's undulation in the road. So you can see way ahead, but you're still working hard to get there. But I think once they get into the park, again, this is a competitive field. I think they'll be pretty packed, and that's where the tight turns happen, where, you know, there's a lot of work to be done in the park. But we see Hillary Bohr here going straight to the front, Paul.
Yeah, that was kind of a spectacular view of the athletes, almost fitting an opening scene of a movie here shot in New York as they come racing against the sun, and Hillary Bohr giving us the early leadership in this men's 5K. Again, the women will start in about 4 minutes from now as they are 5 minutes behind. The defending champion Morgan Beaglescombe among that leadership group here in the early going. See Brian Barraza in the headband, next to him Sam Prakel. When they make that turn onto 6th Avenue, that would be right about the 1 mile mark. One thing about these races, they go efficiently and quickly. Not a lot of time to make some strategic moves here.
No, and as we can see, this is already stretched out. So these men have decided to come. They are not playing around today. They want to get in this hard effort. They want to. There's good prize money on the line. There's points on the line. And so this race has gone out aggressively, and that's why we see it already stretched out here.
Ebia Simbasa, 31-year-old, training in Flagstaff. And again, behind Bohr in that race for the circuit. You can see the current standings. 7 points differentiate the two. You win 15 for first here. And so, you know, Bohr for the moment can leave Simbasa in front of him. He just can't let too many people pass him between now and the finish line. And now Bohr making that move to go right alongside here. The purse here, again, more than $500,000 across the entire season of the USA running circuit, but $30,000 on the line for the overall circuit winner, with Hillary Bohr currently the leader.
And that would be a nice way to end the year for Bohr. He fell at the Olympic trials. He was expected to make his 3rd Olympic team. He fell in the steeplechase and didn't qualify. So this would be a nice way to end the year after that disappointment of not making that team, taking home that prize purse.
Well, 3 minutes in, a big core of the early leaders remain steadily in stride with each other as they work their way down 42nd Avenue. Going to make that turn onto 6th Avenue right before the 1 mile mark. And a little surge now here by Bohr as he moves to the lead once again.
And it looks like they've regrouped a little bit. There was a pack that had sort of made a little daylight between the second pack. It's hard to see a little bit from this angle, but it feels like they've sort of closed that up a little bit. We can see that second pack is not really losing any ground. We'll see if they're able to close that gap a little bit over the next mile so that they are there when they enter the park. But this is a nice, large front pack with all the favorites in there.
And so as the men make the turn on to the Avenue of the Americas back at the United Nations, getting set to get the women out on the course. So we'll check back in with the men here momentarily, but this women's race, as we look at the start list, includes the defending champion, Annie Rodenfels. Talked to Natasha Rogers yesterday. She's looking forward to this race, says she loves this race, one of her favorites each and every year.
Yeah, she really told us how much she loves this city. It's her favorite city in the world. We see her in the center there, and she just wants to run really well here. She's actually very focused on this race. It's her last race for a little while. But this is a great field they've assembled. Again, we talked about earlier, this is a weird time of year to have a 5K on the roads, and so it's impressive they've been able to get such a strong group of women here.
And 4 from the left at the line. Clicking her watch as they get her way. Emma Grace Hurley, who's the current leader in the overall standings, is going to win that overall circuit, so she can just add to her total by picking up some prize money here in New York for this 5K run, but she's already put away the racing circuit victory after a very consistent year, really a breakout year in 2023, and sustained that here in 2024.
And that's why these road races are so great. It gives you momentum to build on, right? Like, she's had opportunity to do a lot of races this year, learn about herself, and really just get in there and in that mode of racing. Big year for her.
So Rodenfels in the Adidas kit there, front and center, along with Rogers, Emma Grace Hurley. And the rest of the field here in tow. Rogers looking aggressive here, and, you know, a woman who has thought about those longer distances, but still her strength really in these kind of mid to longer distances on the roads.
It was interesting talking to her yesterday, Paul, because we saw her debut in the marathon at the Olympic trials, but she said, you know, I've really realized I like the shorter stuff, and she loves the 5,000 specifically, the 5K on the road. She likes that distance. She feels like she can get on that line and just hurt the entire time. And she was saying she's not afraid to go in there and just really press. So I'm not surprised, and I'm sure you aren't, after chatting with her, to see her in the front here being willing to just push this.
So Rogers right alongside the defending champion, as Ahmed Muhumed, who was second last year to Beetlescombe, has now inserted himself into the lead. You see Drew Bosley there in tow, the NAU collegiate runner, and Hillary Bohr, Barraza, Prakel. And in that group, I'm trying to see if we can see Beetlescombe, whether he's still among the leaders here. Great shot here as they come down Fifth Avenue right by the Midtown Hilton, which is where most of these elite athletes are staying for their weekend here. And there is Beetlescombe. He's lurking in the back as they'll make their way up to Central Park South and then take a right-hand turn for just a short period of time before they see the plaza and go into the park for the final stretch of the race.
And I think Beetlescombe, he knows this course, right? He's the defending champion here right now. He knows the course. I like his positioning. He's sort of sitting back and watching it unfold, but not giving them any real room to run away from him.
Men don't hit the 2-mile mark until they enter the park. It's actually the point at which the marathoners exit the park for the final time on that iconic last mile or so of the race. But both these 5Ks as well as the marathon finish at the same point in the park, right by the tavern on the green. And, you know, if you've not run in Central Park before and you sort of see the roads here in New York, say, well, you know, they're just going to have flat racing all the way to the finish line. Not the case.
Absolutely not the case. Very challenging, lots of hills. That's what makes, you know, coming to New York so special. It's very deceptive. It's harder than you think it's going to be. But I think that's good. It's a challenge. You know, sometimes at races we get so focused on time, and I think when you come to New York, you really turn the watch off and just race each other. And I think that helps the athletes become better athletes and better racers for the future of their careers. It's great to see these races happening.
Well, right before the park, Ahmed Muhumed trying to make a move here. Again, second a year ago, has picked up a U.S. title this year on the roads at 8K. That was back in July, but he also was third at the USA Cross Country Championships, made the U.S. World Cross Country team. All-American at Florida State after successful few seasons at Boise State, but he's inserted some pace here and broken away a little bit.
This is a real move. I mean, that was quick, right? We saw him sort of move to the front, get maybe a stride, and now look at the daylight that's opened up, and he looks very good. Look at the knee lift right now. He's really trying to break this open early. Sometimes athletes are feeling so good, and it's kind of fun to run away with something. You really get to enjoy the end, but they still do have a lot of running left. But right now, look at that distance, Paul, in such a quick amount of time.
Yeah, looks about it like 8 guys there in the trailing group behind Ahmed Muhumed, who has moved to the lead, the 26-year-old representing Hoka's NAZ Elite Squad. looking very comfortable now as he gets himself into the park. They do have one kind of quirky turn left in this race, which is coming up here shortly, where they're going to basically turn 90-degree left, and it almost will bring them to a hard stop.
Yeah, they were warned at the technical meeting, you will actually have to slow down almost to a stop there to get around that turn. So that will be interesting, a break in momentum, and we'll see how the athletes handle that, if they're able to just take that and then get right back on it, or if it mentally throws them off. But they have been warned about it. They all know about it. They all went out and saw the course yesterday. So we'll get to see that happen.
Meantime, at the bottom of your screen, the women's race on 6th Avenue now, as they are just over 5 minutes into their racing, and Annie Rodenfels, the defending champion, there in front. Emma Grace Hurley, who will win the USA running circuit, running along stride next to her on her right shoulder. But Muhumed here, still with that group behind him. Looks like Barraza trying to lead that group in a little bit of the chase. Less than a mile to go in this men's 5K. And Muhumed looking over his shoulder, which, you know, you're just trying to gauge where they are in this race. But right now, pretty comfortable lead for him.
Right now, this looks like a breakaway, absolutely. And as you mentioned, Barraza back in that second pack. I saw him run a 5,000 meter up at altitude not that long ago. So he's definitely in good shape for this time of year. But I don't know. There's a lot of work to be gained if anyone's going to catch Muhumed at this point.
And now Emma Grace Hurley to the lead in the women's race. See the prize package and purse here, $60,000 for this race itself, and $12,000 could be added to that $30,000 circuit win, so it could be a nice big payday for Emma Grace Hurley. But she's still got some running to do here as they run by the iconic Radio City Music Hall on their way to the park. Meantime, Muhumed in full stride in that park all by himself right now. 11 and a half minutes elapsed.
Honestly, Paul, this is a little bit of a statement, right? Like we said, this is a strange time of year. You never really know where anyone is, but this is such a dominant performance. And that's what's interesting. Usually it's hard this time of year for someone to really be on it because you're either coming back from a track season or you're in the middle of your heavy fall training. So we just saw him take another little glimpse back, but this is really a statement to see him just dominating this effort.
Course record here set back in 2022 by Ahmed Muhumed, crossing the line in 13:25.5. They do have cameras at the finish line, so they will have an exact time across the line here. Unlike normal road races that'll just have that minute and second. Maybe in the last minute or so, that delta between Muhumed and the chase pack has shortened just a bit, but it's still a really impressive move by Muhumed right before he got to the park, and now just trying to hold it off. You can see the signage with 400 meters to go.
I mean, this is an incredible effort out of him. We see a heck of a race in behind him for that second place, 4 men across back there. But look at how relaxed he looks. He's just cruising in here. And, I mean, this has got to feel good to end the year this way in such a dominant fashion, being able to enjoy running in. This is incredible.
And you know this stretch all too well, having run the New York Marathon. This last little bit to the finish line offers a little bit of a final challenge.
It is uphill. Maybe you can't tell from this angle, but look at this. Look at this closing effort here. He just looked back. He saw that they are coming.
And is that Sam Prakel that is there, or is that no? That is Sam Prakel.
That's Prakel.
So Sam Prakel trying to catch Ahmed Muhumed here in the last go. He's given it a very good effort all the way to the end. But he will have enough room between him and Prakel, and Ahmed Muhumed is going to take the victory here. Looks like Prakel second, Barraza with a great run in third. 13:38 is going to be the winning time for Muhumed. Curbella Rasa finishing in fourth. We'll keep an eye on Bohr and Simbasa as they come across. There's Beatlescombe, the champion from a year ago. But there's the final results. Top three, now top four, with Ahmed Muhumed taking the U.S. 5K championship in 13:38. Bohr finishes in fifth, Simbasa ninth. So Bohr is your USA running circuit champion here in 2024.
Well, that definitely ended up closer than we thought, but that's what racing is, right? Like, he took that risk on himself and he opened up that stretch. I'm sure that Sam Prakel's kicking himself a little bit for letting him get so much space in between him. Prakel was just churning. And, we talked to him yesterday. He came down from Park City. He didn't really know what shape he was in. I think now he realizes altitude is good for him. He needs to go and train at altitude again. But what a great finish out of him. He was closing so hard. And Watts, when we saw him, he had no idea what to expect. He's not a 5,000-meter runner. He doesn't really know the event. A solid race for him. Then they've been training together, him and Sam Prakel.
Yeah, Wascom finishing in 13th. Biddlescombe, the defending champion, finishing in 10th. Well, Emily Venters out of the University of Utah now in the lead here. Emma Grace Hurley and Rodenfels second and third, but a completely different race on the women's side heading into the park.
Totally different. And Venters looks so good right now. She was very open on social media that she took a break from racing due to her mental health. She really needed to take care of herself and find her love of running. And she has done really well. She raced a couple times this fall. And look at her right now she's racing with authority right now. So this is a big moment for her. And Hurley is trying to hang on there, and Rodenfels as well. And look at who's in fourth place. Susanna Sullivan, who was the first American in Chicago just a few weeks ago, running a big personal best, 2-minute 30-second personal best to run 2:21.56. I talked to her yesterday. She took time off after Chicago. She was going to be here for appearances anyway, and she was like, well, I did a couple speed workouts, and I thought I might as well run in the 5K. And look at her now in fifth place. Unbelievable.
Yeah, when you said she finished top American in Chicago, that's the Chicago Marathon.
Yeah. To be clear, the Chicago Marathon, seventh place, huge run out of her. Huge run out of her just a few short weeks ago.
So Venters, who had a good run just a couple of weeks ago, finishing third at the BAA 10K. Mentioned she's also back with her college coach, Kyle Kepler, and getting herself back into racing shape here is Rodenfels trying to win this for the second consecutive year, beginning to pick up the turnover here and trying to get herself a little bit of distance between herself and Venters and Emma Grace Hurley, who's over there on the third spot in the order here, maybe trying to play the tangents a little bit better.
That's smart game to play. Rodenfels is so gritty. She really just finds it, and she's a very versatile athlete. We can see her run the mile, we see her run the steeplechase, we see her here trying to defend her title right now. So a very, very versatile athlete. As she said at the top of the show, her training has changed a little bit. She's been doing some longer stuff along with her speed. So a lot of these athletes are tinkering with their training, and this is kind of like a fact-finding mission. What is working and what isn't? Some athletes are coming from altitude for the first time. As Rodenfels told us, she's been doing this longer stuff. So they're out here and they're really trying to learn what pieces of the puzzle of their new training are working for them.
Rodenfels was the runner-up at the BAA 10K back in mid-October. Three-time Division III champion at Center College out of the state of Kentucky. And our defending champion here trying to race her way into the park. A little bit of a gentle downslope here, and maybe Emma Grace Hurley falling a little bit out of contact with Venters. Venters also starting to feel the strain a little bit. Looks like about 800 meters to go here. But Venters trying to get back into contact with Rodenfels, and with these undulations, opportunities afforded, as we saw with Prakel, almost catching Muhumed in the final stretch. You see the championship record set when the race was held in Providence. Molly Huddle has that mark at 15:10, and Winnie Colati blasted the field in 2022, setting the course record in 15:16 here on this course in New York.
Well, Rodenfels looks very good right now. Her legs are just popping off the track, but Venters has not given up. We can see her arms still pumping, still trying. But Rodenfels does look very, very strong. Look at how her feet are just popping off the pavement. And like I said, she's just such a gritty athlete. She really just isn't afraid to lay it out there. She really knows how to dig deep. And it seems like she's done a really good job to set herself up to be back-to-back champion here.
Well, and having that confidence of having not only run this race before, so having the knowledge of how the course unfolds, but also doing successfully what she did last year, which was take the US 5K title, now seemingly in control here as she is in isolation here in the final stretch of this women's 5K.
Like you said, she's looking ahead to that finish line, but it is a climb here. It's a little deceiving. And always a great treat at the end of a marathon to finish uphill. But this is another thing that's fun about this. They get to finish on the marathon course. They get to feel what that could be like, right? And so there's a lot of people out cheering them on this morning, a lot of athletes doing their shakeout runs, cheering them on as they run this morning. But look at her go now. She is really powering her way to the finish line.
Less than 200 meters to go for Annie Rodenfels, trying to win her second consecutive U.S. 5K road title. Emily Venters looking strong, but looking like she's not going to be able to catch Rodenfels. The 28-year-old out of Boston, Massachusetts, going to go back-to-back in New York City as she will come across to the line, just a shade off that course record. But she is the 2024 U.S. champion at 5K. And Venters will finish a very respectable second as she makes her debut here in New York. And Emma Grace Hurley finishes on the podium in New York and will also cap off the 2024 road racing season as the USA Road Circuit champion. There are the final results. Rodenfels by 5 seconds over Venters.
That was a great race out of Rodenfels. She has to feel really good about where she's at. Obviously, when you tinker with your training, you never know what you're going to get. That was good for her. She came in here. It seems like this strength training is working for her. And a great race out of Venters, like I said, has been open with her struggles, but really what a great way for her also to cap off the end of the year. And Emma Grace Hurley taking that circuit title and a nice check home.
Yeah, Venters so successful on the track for the Utah Utes last year. The runner-up of the NCAA championships at 10,000 meters, also had third place at 5,000 meters. So all-American effort a year ago as a collegiate, and that's what we see time and time again, given this era that we're in, is the transition. And she admittedly said it was a harder transition for her for a variety of reasons, but from a competition and quality of preparation, these collegians can make immediate dents into these elite races.
They really can, and it is opportunities like this outside of the track, to get on the roads and be able to race year long that really help these athletes as they make that transition.
So the two podiums being brought together here for a little photo opportunity as Rodenfels, Venters, and Grace Hurley on the women's side, Muhumed, Prekel, and Barraza, top three on the men's side. And a great effort by, you mentioned it, Barraza getting a podium finish at a U.S. championship.
Great run for him. I mean, he really came through in those final stages of the race, landing himself on the podium. Awesome race for him. All three of these men, what a hard-fought effort. Muhumed made that break and suffered a little bit at the end, but was able to hang on. And Prekel and Barraza, just having to churn because they were in that big dash for those last two podium spots. So great effort out of all three of these men.
And for Muhumed, after the runner-up finish in 2023, he will take the U.S. road racing title here at 5K as the women prepare for their photo opportunity here. And to follow after this set of photo ops, we'll have Carrie Tollefson talk to our winners here. And then, oh, by the way, a race that has been sold out, we're told, since March. 14,000 people about to race the same course that these elites just did. As, again, this weekend is just kind of in full display. It is really just one of the, we were around the sport a lot, and we've had a good fortune of being in a lot of cool places this year covering events, but there's nothing like the weekend in New York for the marathon.
Really isn't. It's just so great. And it's amazing that all these people get to be a part of the weekend. 14,000 people get to be a part of the New York City Marathon weekend by running this race.
And a reminder, you can be part of the world's #1 track and field and road racing team by joining or renewing your USATF membership today. For more information, go to usatf.org/membership. There are the two podiums in full display on this sunny Saturday morning in early November in New York City. Temperatures in the 50s. They were temperatures in the 70s just a couple of days ago when we arrived in the city. So the temperature is actually a little bit more race-friendly here going into the weekend.
This is good, Paul. This is good. It cooled down quite a bit even from yesterday to today. And that is so much better for these athletes running the 5K and certainly the athletes running the marathon.